All right, we have a long awaited guest on the podcast. His name is Jose. Are you comfortable sharing your last name or just keep it at Jose?
Uh,
Up to
yeah, I'll
you.
just keep it at Jose.
Keep it at Jose. This is Kevin's friend. He is a lucid dreamer, a natural lucid dreamer, not one of the guys who spends every waking moment trying to lucid dream. Can I lucid dream?
Yeah.
This guy falls asleep and then he lucid dreams, and that's just his experience. If I'm not mistaken, Jose.
Yeah, it is.
So
And
when,
I
yeah,
go on.
sorry, go ahead.
I didn't really know that it was. I didn't have any like idea that it was a thing. Like I didn't know that there was a word for it, and I didn't know that people couldn't do it. I thought it was normal. I thought like we all just went to bed because you think when you're gonna go to bed, obviously you're gonna lay down to go to bed. So you obviously should know that the next thing that you're gonna see is going to be a dream. And
Mhm.
I didn't have a concept that people don't have that people don't know they're dreaming, like that people don't. It's like they forget that they lay down to go to bed before that experience, and they don't remember. They don't know that they're dreaming until they wake up again.
Yep.
I just thought that it was normal to know that you're dreaming because obviously you know what I mean. And it wasn't until he so me and him were hanging out that he brought up like lucid dreaming, and I was like, "What is that?" And he was explaining, and I was like, "That's normal. Like, don't do that type of thing." It was weird.
And
I don't
I
know.
I
Yeah.
I kind of like explained it like the reason he's aware is because the part of his brain that can critically evaluate a situation is on for him. But the reason why we can't notice the obvious is because the critical faculty is not on for us. That's why we can see the pink elephant floating in the room and our we don't we don't jump to the conclusion we're in a dream. We just go along with the pink elephant.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of hard for us to like explain to the other like how could you not know or how could you know type of
Hmm.
thing. But I'd also like
Well,
to mention,
I just wanted to say it's interesting because there's a lot of people out there who can't even see images in their head. They can't even they basically don't have the ability to have visual imagery in their head.
mhm.
And
And we
I
know
think it's like
someone, the three of
10% of
us
people
know
who can't do
someone.
it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't understand that either. But
yeah. So someone in our fraternity has that, Greg, and
Really?
yeah, our my friend Sam, who Jose knows too, because they went to the same high school.
Oh,
He,
interesting.
I believe, he has aphantasia. He
That's what
can't
it's called.
form, yeah, he can't form mental images. But the interesting thing about him is that he does dream, and he has images in his
Hmm.
dreams. But when he wakes
Interesting.
up, he can't recall any images because he can't visualize images when he's awake.
That's so strange.
I know. I was like, how can your brain make them when you're asleep, but not when you're awake? But who
but
knows?
if how does he know that he's how does he know about him dreaming if when he wakes up he doesn't recall it?
I
It
don't
doesn't.
know. Like, it's kind of
It
like how
doesn't make
we when we're like
Yeah.
in a dream, we know that the dream is longer, but when we wake up, we like immediately lose most of it. So I think he's just aware vaguely that he was moving around places and doing this and that. But when he wakes up, he can't actually see the images. And I've tried to ask him, I was like, can you, like, when I ask you to visualize an apple in your hand, I was like, can you see an apple? And he's like, no, but, and then I was like, but how do you know how to like communicate with people and stuff if you can't see images? And he's like, well, I have this idea of what an apple is, but I can't see it. And it's just very conceptual. He has the logical understanding of everything, but he can't like visualize someone's face or anything. It's very interesting.
boring.
I know, I know. I'm
That
like,
sounds
I think
so boring. That's
I
like
said myself,
seriously. That's
you know,
seriously not a way to live. Like it doesn't sound.
I I've said to him once, I was like, this makes sense though, because he doesn't like. from what I understand, he doesn't really like fantasize or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, that it kind of makes sense because like we
Dude, what
can
did he do when he
fantasize.
hit puberty?
Girl, I don't know. Who knows? I don't.
I
So,
Yeah.
Jose, I
Mm.
wanted to ask you, when you first started, say, like, recalling your dreams, I just wanted to know, like, what was your childhood experience of dreaming? What did you do in dreams? Like, do you have any memory? Like, are dreams, in a sense, kind of more so like a life experience for you since they're so vivid and you're lucid in them, or are they kind of still, it's kind of still a vague thing
well
that's
no,
going on, but
so
you're living through it?
I do have books that I like would write when I would wake up because over time the dreams do become vivid. It's still the same for me.
Yeah.
Like I still they'll they'll start to fade and I won't remember like certain things, but I do have books that I wrote that I would write what I dreamt about because I always thought that dream when you were like things that you experience in your dreams are like I thought I didn't know why, but I felt like they would help you in the real world for some reason. So I do have like I stopped when I got into like middle school. I stopped doing that, but I do have like a good amount of books where I like journals where I would like write down my dreams. But it wasn't like it was just normal. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I don't know because I feel like when you put your when you're experiencing something and you know that it's like it's not real because obviously us here is like the reality of our situation. I just kind of didn't like I just knew that that was a place where I could just fuck around or mess up or do dumb things and I knew that I wasn't going to get in trouble. If that makes sense. So
Okay.
like I didn't like I would go with the flow at times like and sometimes it would be like horror dreams where like a serial killer was trying to kill me or like I had normal dreams like other everybody else but I knew that I was going to be okay. Like I knew that it
When
wasn't
Yeah.
before, like I brought to your awareness, I guess, like what you were doing, like the lucid dreaming and stuff, didn't you go with the flow most of the time because you didn't understand the level of control? And that
well
was
no I understood the level of control. It was like a game. Like picture you playing a game on your computer on the TV. It was
Mhm.
basically that, but it was like 3D. Like I'm in the actual game, so I
Like a
could.
virtual reality video game.
Yeah, so it was like I knew that I was dreaming, and I knew that I could fly. I knew that I could do what I wanted. If I wanted to have the ability to fly or the ability to move things with my mind or blow stuff up or like just by the wave of my hand, I could do it. And it was like it was so real, like because it's just like us right now talking on the phone.
Yeah.
So like pick so if you could imagine like looking at an object in front of you and moving it with your mind, obviously it's not going to move because we're in reality, but in the dream it's literally the same concept. It's just in the reality you actually move, the cup actually moves or whatever you're trying to move. Whatever the intent is will actually happen. So and it's weird because I can feel let's say if I was moving something, I could feel the cup in my mind, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Almost like I was touching
Yeah.
it without touching it,
So when you
if
were
that
young, did you ever feel did you ever feel bored of your like waking life with all these awesome dreams and being able to, got to basically wake up in a reality where you could just do whatever you wanted every
no,
night? No.
it was balanced. And
Okay.
I actually appreciated a lot in my actual life,
Hmm.
like and it being normal because it was not like it's kind of like you're living two realities because it
Yeah.
still felt like I was in that
Hmm.
world, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I had dreams where like I would go to bed in the dream and wake up in the dream. And I've had dreams that
Hmm.
lasted weeks, months, even years it was like I was living in that dream. And then I would wake up back here and it would kind of be a mind fuck because it was like I went to bed for 8 hours, and it felt like I lived a year, if that makes sense. And then I would wake
Yep.
up, and it would just be the next day here. I don't know if
There
that.
was, I
Yeah,
feel
no, I
like
mean
there
that
was,
happens. I mean, even like for people under psychedelics, there's experiences where people like live a whole lifetime and then they wake up. Um, but what were you
dude,
saying, Kevin? Sorry.
you just brought up something. That was like my
Yeah.
experience when, not that Greg and I ever did any drugs, but when we were
Good
driving
save,
back
good save.
when we were
Yeah.
driving back home from the dunes that one day,
Oh, the fly like an eagle.
and you had that song on that was just like time keeps on slipping, slipping. And I remember being there for so freaking long. And I asked you, I was like, how many times you played this song? And you did have it on repeat, right? Or was it just the one
No,
time?
I played it once.
No way. Oh, okay. I thought you said you had it on repeat and you were trying to
No,
trip me out. Okay, because I
no.
was hearing that in my head, like I was hearing it for probably like 2 hours or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Hmm.
yo, Greg, are you trying to troll me? And he's like, what? And you were like, I guess it was only on the one time, but my perception of time, just
Yeah.
time keeps on slipping.
It just
And it's
kept
crazy
slipping,
when you
slipping, right?
it's crazy when you have a time
Yes.
dilation experience like that. You're just like, it's just so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Awake or asleep.
Yeah,
But
and
I
I
was
want to
gonna say,
know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was
It's a
gonna say,
cool.
like, I thought Jose and I had this experience once where I was practicing with like trance work, and that's sort of when we were discovering this in the beginning. And I remember there was this time where I like put him down for like 30 minutes to an hour or whatever. And when he came to, he he was really disoriented, like he had been gone for like a very, very long time. And I think he had said something like it felt like I was gone for weeks, which is just so weird because it's like, no, you were gone for like 30 minutes tops or an hour tops. But for him, I just remember him like, I was like asking him, like, yo, are you good or
Yeah.
whatever? And he just like couldn't hear me. Like he was
And
like,
that is where sometimes it will be like where I kind of will fall into the narrative that I guess you guys go through, where you guys go to bed and you don't know it's a dream, because I do have like whenever it is a long dream, like I'm going to try to speed up this dream as fast as possible, because it was a span of like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I had, so I like to sing and I like to write music, and I always wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a singer and a songwriter and an actor and all this stuff. So one day I went to bed and I had a dream that I won this competition, but I knew that it was a dream. Like I knew that it would I knew that I was going into a dream state. So I was just going with the flow. And obviously, like in real life, like in this reality, in us living here, I would be terrified to do that. Like I get like shy to like sing in front of a lot of people.
Yep.
Um, but in the dream, I knew that I was like a dream. I knew it was a dream, so I was like,
Mhm.
"Fuck it," you know. Can we swear?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You
So I
can.
was so I was basically like, "Fuck it," and I went to this competition and I sang and I won. I won the competition, and the dream like so it's kind of skewed, because have you ever seen The Greatest Showman?
Yes.
So do you know the song that the girl sings that was like very popular at the time of when that movie came out?
never enough.
Yeah, Never Enough.
Fair
That
enough.
was the song that was written for me in the dream. So like I became so they took me well, it wasn't written specifically for me. It was for another person, but the song kept getting like not used by other people. Like it was set to various artists, to like three artists before, and I listened to it and I loved the song. I felt like I could relate to it. And so I was like, yeah, I'll sing that song. And so that was the first single that I released in the recording. and it became a big hit, and I became famous, and I became really worldwide famous, and it was really fun at first. Like, and then I started to lose the mindset that I was in a dream in that time period, because this was probably like a year and a half into the dream. So about that time, I just kind of like stopped remembering it was a dream. Like, it just kind of faded. It didn't, like, because when you're going to bed and waking up, it kind of makes you. It made me feel like, okay, well, obviously it's not a dream anymore because I'm waking up and going to bed. Um, but
Wait,
it
so
was
in
fun.
the dream you were like waking up, going to bed, taking showers, like
Yeah,
brushing your
like
teeth
I'm
and
like
shit?
I do, like a normal person here. So I was going to bed and waking up, and yeah, and I was traveling the world, and I saw a lot of beautiful. And who knows if they look like that in real life, but they look like I would to like every state. Like, I toured about like 45 states. Um, and it was really fun at first, but once it started to like, it was almost like and I don't know if this is in real life, if this is really what famous people go through, but in the beginning it was really fun. It was almost like it was a rush because it's your dream. But after like I released my first album, they wanted shit got like into really big, like they needed me to get into gear after that because people liked me and I was a big sensation, I guess, worldwide. So they started like pressuring me to write songs, and even the songs that I wrote that I really loved, that I wanted to produce and show to the world, because it was like experiences that I went through. They did not want they what they did is they took my music and
The politics. The
they gave it
politics
to
got involved. Yeah.
well, they gave it to other artists, because it wasn't that they didn't like the songs I was writing. They just said it wasn't my image, like that I no one would like it if
Hmm.
it was sung by me. So they would give me they would give me rights to the song, to a portion of the song, so I would be getting money. Even I would be credited in the song, and I would get money for the person that sings it. Like, I would get a portion of the profits that they made, like a very small profit, um but I wouldn't get like I wasn't able to sing it myself. Got and then after that, like, obviously I'm gay and I sound gay, like, but they so
Great.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to, but they made me take like voice lessons where I had to like
Okay.
train my voice to be deeper and to sound like a straight person. They made me dress a certain way that I did not like to dress in. Like, they basically changed my entire aesthetic, and I couldn't be myself even though I was already out at the time,
Okay.
because a big portion of the people that were listening to me, I think like 78% were women, and like the rest of them like were males. Like,
Basically, this whole experience went into hella detail with
so it did
every
go,
aspect.
every aspect like fell into play like throughout these 5 years, and I was signed on with them to release 6 albums. So like the contract was sealed. I couldn't leave. Like, I had to fulfill the contract before I
Did
could.
you
Um,
like wait, but did you experience this experience till like the death, if that makes
no.
sense? Okay.
Well, let me
What
explain how it
was
ended.
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, how did it
basically,
end?
everyone, I started to realize that no one was your friend. Like, no one, everybody was only like they're supporting you and acting cool with you and being cordial and like saying they love you for that was something that would benefit them, because obviously if you're releasing music with someone, they're going to be nice to you. If you're releasing, if I did like a song with another artist, obviously the only reason why they're doing it is because they're benefiting from it, because obviously two people that are singing together,
Yeah.
the song is gonna do well, and it might possibly, if they're lower than me at that point, bring them up higher, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
I started to realize that it was all fake. No one, even your closest friends that you hung out with for so long in that scene, were talking shit on you behind your back. They weren't really. They were. It was just a fake community, and I had to pretend to be like with someone. Like, I had to pretend to be with a female And I think what really pissed me off was I started dating someone, like a male behind the scenes, and what ended like the dream was I ended up finding him like making out. We ended up going to like this fancy restaurant. I ended up finding him like he came out of the bathroom and like he was zipping his pants. And then like
Wait,
he like saw me, and then another male came out and like was disheveled, and I got really pissed, and it kind of like, because I was already feeling like I was drowning. I had to release At this point I had only released five albums in the span of 5 years, and I had so one every year, and it was heading to the sixth year, and they were like really pressuring me to write like a total of 10 songs plus 2 bonus tracks, and I didn't know what to write about because everything in my mind was so depressing that I couldn't write anything boppy or
but
happy.
when you woke up, did did this experience change
Well,
your desire to be famous, or like
I still want to be famous. I just don't, because honestly, I don't know if I'm not famous. So like I don't know if that is a reality, if that reality is really what would happen if I became famous. What I like Basically I ended up being like fucking Britney Spears, the male version of Britney Spears, because I basically got so pissed off that I took off all my clothes and I got butt naked, and then
you like went crazy?
I took off everything that they had me wear, and I literally walked out of the restaurant, out of the bathroom, flipping my boyfriend off and walking out of the and like the last thing that happened was I took a plane home, and then it was like near Thanksgiving, and so I went and I had Thanksgiving dinner with my family, and the last thing was like they had the TV on, and it was saying Jose um has like the headliners was like I lost it or I went crazy, something along those lines, and it was people talking about me, and there was like videos of me walking out like naked, and then like
You woke up.
I grabbed the remote and I turned off the TV, and I was like, let's give thanks, and like we gave thanks, and we started eating, and I felt like a sense of happiness being with my family, and then I woke up, and then I had to get up and get ready for school. Like, so it
Jesus.
was just, yeah, it's,
Do you
So
have
did
and
any
you feel
questions
like
for Greg?
disorientated after you woke up? Like were you like what the
I
heck?
did like,
You know?
yeah, like for a second I was like, what the fuck? Because I felt like that was my life at that point. So waking up back in this like reality, I was like, shit, like I was a little relieved because I was like, thank God nobody saw me butt naked, but
When
and nobody saw
when
me like, but I
when you
do, huh?
when you would go to sleep, and would you dream
Yeah, I was
in
wondering
when you
that. Yeah,
would you dream in the dream when you would go to sleep in this other world, and were you a lucid dreamer in that world, the
No,
dream
I
within the dream?
wasn't. I
But you would,
wasn't. So like, okay, I don't know if the concept of like, because of the fact that I kind of let go of the idea that it was a dream,
because you
I
went
couldn't,
fully,
because
you got fully involved in it.
I would go to bed and I wouldn't dream at all. Like
I
my
see.
real, yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's significant any way or if that means anything, but yeah, not dream. I think
Yeah.
it's because my priorities weren't about dreaming; they were about being
A star.
yeah. So
so
that
it
was all.
well, yeah, it's almost like your brain was like, okay, this guy knows that he's dreaming every night. Let's see if we can fool him by putting in an extra long dream where it's so long that eventually he just forgets that he's in a dream.
Yeah, literally.
Like, yeah, and it was sad, like, cause and the at the end of I do remember that near the end, I did release the songs that I wanted to release on, like, I recorded them independently and I released them to the public. And I was looking at like the videos, like I didn't, they weren't actual videos, they were just me singing in like a studio
Yeah.
with a piano. But but they resonated far greater than like the songs that I was releasing with the with like
with the studio.
with the record label. People were like, why don't you, people were commenting, and I remember crying looking through
Wait, Jose, can
the.
I cut you off for a sec?
Mhm.
So one point I'd like to say is this was like from what I remember, Jose has had like a few different dreams like this where he explores,
Super long.
yeah, completely like a certain, it's like explores a certain pathway. Because I remember in the past he had told me an experience where he went like completely through college and through veterinary school because being a veterinarian was one
Yeah,
of his kind of like, I don't know, like your desire or it
Dream.
was a thought you had. And so he's had like a dream, it seems like almost for every desire to see like how it would come into fruition if he like followed it fully, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Or
And right now
remember.
I'm almost wondering like what you're doing when you go to sleep at night. It sounds less like dreaming, like what I do and what Kevin does, and it sounds more like you're entering another parallel dimension. Does it ever feel like that to you?
Yes, and I do believe that there probably is a probability or a different version of me that's still living in as being famous.
okay,
Yeah.
wait, do you want to let's get into that, Greg? Let's
Yeah.
So I
ask
do. Okay, so what do you want to ask?
it's- ask like what has this what has this like your experience of doing this, like what are some things that you believe about reality, like our reality,
Hmm.
because of your ability to do this? Do you have certain mindsets on like the nature of our reality because of these experiences? Is that, did I
I
word that?
do. So I do believe that we are our reality is what we make it, and I that sounds corny because
Say it all the
people
time.
people say it, but they don't say it in the mindset that I have. They're
Hmm.
saying it just like as a hopeful narrative, when in reality,
Yep.
if you if you try if you want to do something and you go for it, the probabilities are endless, but you have to want it bad enough. Like you have to really truly want to be what you're trying to pursue to be, to become that that version of yourself, and it will happen, no doubt, because
Mm.
your mindset will align with, I guess, that universe, that parallel universe, if you wanted it to. But I feel like a lot of people, we live in doubt where we believe that we maybe we weren't meant to do that, maybe we, and that's why we don't, it doesn't come into fruition.
Greg and I'm still working on finishing this book, but Greg, don't you like that quote from The Alchemist where it's like when someone decides to to chase their desire, the universe conspires in your favor. Do you
Yeah.
know the exact quote? Can you
Yeah.
say it?
I I don't know the exact quote, but that's basically it.
When
Yeah,
you
I mean,
desire
whenever,
something,
yeah, like the whole world conspires to help you, right? Whenever you like truly want something, the whole universe conspires to help you to get it,
does that
right?
feel
And
like
like,
a truth?
I do,
Like
yeah. I do believe I do believe that. However, I will say that if you, let's say you want to do something, like let's say you want to be a veterinarian, okay, like I did. Um, just because you want to, like, let's say you're all in and you're going to veterinary school to be a vet, okay? The reason why sometimes even people who do want to succeed in that field,
mm,
or whatever field it is, they grow this, like, let's say, in the because your mind continuously changes, that it grows. That's the
yep,
whole point of our existence. So I hope I'm stating it or articulating it
yep,
correctly, or in a way that would make sense. But I
yep,
feel
you're
like
fine.
oftentimes, even if you are making the goals towards the big goal that you want, like being a vet, oftentimes people get so invested in something that they end up like coming to a realization that that's not necessarily what they want, or they grow content with being a different narrative, if that makes sense, even though their initial narrative was to be a vet. So like, let's say I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I go to college for maybe 2 years and become a vet tech, and I grow content with being that. Like, I love being a vet tech. I see no reason to go for the extra 8 years.
Yeah.
Basically, like the path is not predestined. It's not like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
people will
you
grow content
learn.
often. Yeah, like,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
and
learn
if they
as you
like,
go and you can
And you
change
change.
course.
yeah,
Yeah, no, there's a quote. It's a Nietzsche quote. He says that as soon as a new ideal is created, it immediately becomes a retrograde movement. And that's because as soon as
Yes.
a new idea is formed, not only does the idea start to change with the people who hear that idea, but also all the people who've heard the idea also change over time, right? Because everything is changing. So whenever you have some kind of dream like becoming a veterinarian or a doctor or a famous singer, as you go through life, your ideals and your desires change with you, right?
yes, it's just, it's your mindset basically. Like, the
Yes.
is what makes the reality be what the way it is. So like,
Mm.
not to say that you couldn't be a vet, but it's like your opinion over becoming a veterinarian might be different in the next 2 years based on what you've experienced in those 2 years.
Mhm.
But
Even
do you feel like even as you change course,
Mhm.
do you feel like the universe, do you feel like there's some element of the universe helping you out to reach your goal, even though your goal is basically changing all the time as you grow? Do you feel like or do you feel like it's solely, I don't know how to say it. Do you feel like you're on your own, or do you feel like the universe is constantly guiding you, if that makes sense? Did I word that right? I don't know.
And that's word right.
there's no real concept of the universe because
We're
we're
all the
all
universe.
the
Yeah.
universe. So that's just that's just like a stepping stone to
Mhm.
people use like the universe as a stepping stone because obviously they don't see the world as like it's ever so changing and you can change it.
Mhm.
Like what's her name? What's that the quote? This quote I can't remember who said it. Gandhi, I think.
Say
You
it. We'll
must be the
probably know.
change.
Oh,
You must be the change you want to see in the world.
is
Yeah,
that
that's Gandhi.
Um
Michelangelo? Is that
huh?
Gandhi?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's Gandhi.
Yeah. You
So
have to be the change you want to see in the world.
so so you I feel like I feel like I understand what she meant by that because it's not the universe. We are the universe. We're all tied together, even though we don't.
Mhm.
We're level to like an existence where we are individuals. But if we saw the world in a different light, in like we would there would be no issue. We wouldn't want to start wars. We would be like a collective where we would understand each other
Mhm.
to such a degree that we would basically be one, if that makes sense. I
Yep.
don't I can So like the universe, it's a great like idea mindset because a lot of people that don't lucid dream or can't step into a reality
Mhm.
or
Yep.
another reality don't have that reality, don't have that mindset or have that experience. So
Mhm.
saying that they're asking the universe something, it's the same thing as like you wanting it or you asking for it. You're just basically like if you were praying to God. It's like the
Mhm.
same narrative, just
Yep.
in a different format.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So what you're saying is like people project out the outward, like
Mhm.
this universe or this God is going to help me, but we're
Yeah.
self-generating. The
Yes. And that
your
and
your
that's
your belief
yeah,
is that we self-generate the world
yes. And
so that
we
Mhm.
you don't need to call upon this outside force
Yeah.
because we're like generating it. So you can
Yeah, I mean, it
choose.
doesn't
Right.
happen like to clarify, I don't think it happens like it does in, say, a dream. A dream might be a
Yeah,
lot more immediate,
Mhm.
yeah.
um, but I did want to ask, say, what's, I guess, what do you think is happening when you're dreaming? Do you think you're just in a dream? Do you think you're like, what do you think is a dream for you, specifically for you?
The
I
I feel like your mindset has changed over the years,
Yeah.
right?
yeah. So it's hard to explain
You
that,
get
but
yet you just be honest with how you feel.
I
Yeah,
just don't want
just be honest.
to like go really deep
It's gonna sound
into.
crazy, but like just
Yeah,
say it.
yeah,
This
no,
is a
it's
crazy
fine, man.
podcast.
Okay,
Yeah.
The name of this podcast is Into the Absurd.
so I have understood that I was being kind of dumb with it, but
Okay.
I do know that the dream where I was famous, where I became famous, I do believe that that was another reality that I
Okay.
experienced. And even now, like I could go to bed right now and go back to that reality and see what's playing out like in this present time because
Hmm.
that reality
What
is moving at the same time that
what has
that
like
we are. If
what has influenced your perspective of, because I feel like before, like years ago, you used to see these
yeah,
experiences as just long or short dreams. What do you think happened for you that made it so you don't view it as
well,
just
just
a
our
dream?
experiences and like the because I didn't know anything was like I didn't it's not that I didn't believe it, I was just oblivious to that type of I didn't know about lucid dreaming or astral projection or things like that that people talk about.
Hmm.
Um
But
and
okay,
like remember
let's say I came to you as Kevin and said, "Oh, there's this thing called astral projection," and so you have a new mindset. But do you have?
well that
But
wasn't
how?
that's well that
Right?
that's not the case because you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
come
yeah.
to me with that. But
Exactly.
I didn't believe you and remember how long it took before I actually came to this
Right. That's what
awakening,
I'm
I guess.
asking. That's what I'm asking. Is like what what happened for you? I know it's a lot of things by our personal thing, but someone can come to you and say, "Oh, there's this thing called this and that." But what made you change your
I
mind?
I know what changed my mind, but I am afraid to like talk about it on
Okay.
like
But
It's up to Greg or you if you want to talk about that.
just
yeah, I
like
mean,
a lot of things that happened throughout those 4 or 5
4 years.
years.
Yeah.
It there was just too many coincidence that happened in my like
yeah.
waking state that I that I can't be like, okay, well, no, you're just full of shit. You're just making if
Because you
that
have like
I
predictions, right? Like
I well, I have a
you had like
story. If
psychic predictions.
I have
yeah.
a story that
Yeah, go
could like
ahead.
I get that could sum up where my mindset growed and I think where he started to question too. If we want to go in this like
Yeah.
direction. So when we had first started out
Okay.
and we were discovering this, what basically happened is um I was experimenting with a like a trance induction methodology that I was using on myself to for the purpose of relaxing my body. And I used it on him. And we realized something was different with him when he would go into a trance. And so because of my like theoretical knowing, my theoretical knowledge, I set up an experiment where I said, okay, Jose, I'm going to put you in a trance. And once you're already like in in the deep state, it like already snoring, already that, I'm going to give you coordinates that you would have no, like no one just remembers the coordinates of
Yeah.
like a location, right? Like
Yep.
if I
Yep.
asked you like where's, and so he was like, okay, we'll try it.
And he didn't
And
tell me any
I
he didn't
didn't,
tell me
yeah,
where I
yeah,
would
yeah.
be going.
Yeah, I just said I'm gonna put you in the trance and then I'll tell you the coordinates.
Like
And
to his ear, like while he's asleep.
well, because he could hear me
Okay.
still, like
Yeah,
even though
And,
he
because
was
and
so
by
even when
coordinates,
I
do you mean like the number or like a name?
no,
no
like
like
numbers, like
Oh wow.
pure, like
Okay.
if you go Google's north south. And the
Good.
reason for that
Okay.
was so that I personally would know he would have no way to like, Google what are these coordinates, right? Like because he's already obviously on my floor
Yeah.
asleep. This was done in my living room. And so I induce him into the trance. He's snoring. I can tell his breathing is different, so he's in this deep state. And I I choose a random business across town, which I chose a Pizza Hut. Now, to confirm this for myself so that I knew I wasn't crazy, if the results were what I were to expect them to be, I texted a friend from college, Pizza Hut. That's all I texted him. My friend was like, "What the fuck?" And I was just like, I'm using your message as a notepad, as a timestamp notepad. And I said, Pizza Hut. And he was like, what? And anyway, Jose is going through this experience, and I'm trying to figure out if Jose can talk while he's in the experience, and he's too distant, so he's not talking.
Hmm.
But
and that was in the
he
beginning, and now I
in
can
in
talk.
and now, but let
Yeah.
me finish. So
Okay, go.
Jose wakes up, and like he was really
Hmm.
disoriented. And I'm like, where did you go? And he's like, Kevin, I don't think it worked. I don't think I went
Yeah,
um
where you
where
wanted to
like
go.
where and I was like, Jose, where were you? And he was like, well, I was inside of a Pizza Hut and I was looking at the boxes,
Jeez.
I was looking at the shelves. He was describing exactly the Pizza Hut that actually I haven't even been to because it's the one that is across town, but I had to choose a place that we could verify later.
Mm.
But I had to also choose a place because I know that Jose doesn't have a car. So I knew he wouldn't be walking to the Pizza Hut on
Yeah.
the other side of Idaho Falls. And he was like, Kevin, I was in a Pizza Hut. And then I opened my Facebook Messenger to the message that I had sent to my friend an hour prior. And I said Pizza
Mm.
Hut because when I told Jose that I had
And I
that
thought,
the
and I,
you thought I was
well,
making it up.
yeah, I
So
was
that's
like,
why I
dude,
did
you're.
the
So when you showed me the text message, and I was able to see that you had sent it beforehand, I was like, dude, you're lying. Like, that's not. And then I was like, kind of like, well, you sent me to a fucking Pizza Hut. Like, that's the best you could do. Like, that's why I didn't. I was like, that's why I didn't believe that it worked because what the fuck, like, it's not like I was like, what did you do? You want me to bring you a pizza, like, kind of thing? So I was like, what
okay.
the fuck?
So
Yeah,
Like,
that
why didn't you put me
experience,
like on the Eiffel Tower or something, bitch?
right?
Like,
exactly. That's what
Well,
I.
my thinking process was it has to be somewhere that we could when if he were to describe the interior,
We could
yeah,
go
he
and
would
see it, which,
right.
yeah, and when
But
yeah.
that was the experience for me because
Wait, so do you
I
guys
had
go to the Pizza Hut?
did we ever? I don't think we did, right?
no, we did go to it
We did.
because I wanted to show you. I wanted to explain what it looked like.
I think for me, I was like, I don't really care because because you're like, well, there's counters and stuff, but I'm like, well, duh, there's gonna be
Well,
counters and
no, but
stuff.
I
I think
described
I was
I described
right.
in detail like that they had pizza like drawings on a wall on a specific wall, and I was able to show you the wall.
For me, I was already sold because I knew that there was
Yeah.
no way you would know like the coordinates of 1278 north. You know what I mean? I was already sold
Yeah.
because I had already given those to him. And it was like,
Oh, yeah,
unless
with the
we have
Pizza Hut.
And he
right.
straight up
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he straight up told me them as I was gonna lay down to do this, and then he was like, and he told me he's like, I'm doing that so that I know you don't look at your phone or Google it or. And I was like,
And
okay,
I knew that like obviously because I'm sitting there with you, but it was for my own like it was for my own sanity that
yeah, and I
I
think
had
you even took my phone away. You even were like, give me your
yeah,
phone,
I did.
and
I
I
was like,
was like, why?
I'm going scientific with this. Like I got to figure this out once and for all.
Yeah.
For all. Anyway,
Wow.
that's what changed. Well, I had a theoretical. mindset of this from like sort of esoteric or mystical um stuff I
Readings.
had read.
Yeah.
Like I had a logical knowing, but
Mhm.
I didn't. I did have some experiential knowing, but nothing I feel like offered me some conclusive proof.
I
So
Yeah.
I did it in this way to give myself this sort of knowing, like,
Hmm.
is this a worthy avenue to explore? Or is this all just
Yeah.
like
and
hogwash?
I think that that wasn't what sold it for me. I think I was like still in shock. I didn't think that it was real. I thought you were just fucking with me. Um, so and there were other little instances after that. Like I started to be able to like go to bed and still feel my body laying on his couch, like the leather, the like I could
Oh
feel
wow.
and smell, and I could smell what was in his house, and like so I had like a conscious state laying in bed or laying wherever I was laying while
So it was
also
like your
having
dream world and real world were like
kind
aligned,
of
almost in a
aligned, yeah,
sense.
because I could feel myself in the dream state, and also like I heard his dog, I could hear his dog barking in the, and I could hear like his little steps, even though he was on carpet, like I could hear every fiber that he like touched on the carpet.
Hmm.
It's like it was like an intense like experience. Like I don't
There's
know
a
if
there's a physicist named Tom Campbell.
Hmm.
He worked for NASA, NASA, and
NASA.
he now does YouTube videos, and he wrote a book called My Big Toe, which stands for My Big Theory of Everything. And he was a participant in the Monroe Institute, which for those in the audience who are privy to sort of alternative knowledge, the Monroe Institute was an institute that was founded by Robert Monroe, and Robert Monroe started having out of body experiences as a result of his experimentation with sort of sound waves and stuff. And Tom Campbell was one of like the students or physicists in the Monroe Institute. And he was trained on how to induce these sort of altered states because they were using people who could go into these altered states, not to, I don't want to say map out the universe or map out things, but to see if they couldn't like point scientists in the direction of like where to explore. It's kind of complicated,
Explore.
but he apparent this guy claims to be able to do this thing called dual processing, which is what I feel like Jose is describing. Is
Hmm.
his mind is fully conscious and aware here in this data stream. He calls them data streams, but another part of his mind is able to be aware of another data stream.
Okay.
And that's what I feel like
So
Jose
this,
was doing
well
in a way.
I do want to finish that story though.
yeah, yeah. Go
So
ahead. Go ahead,
so I
Jose.
was so I was like laying on his couch, and I know you'll remember this as soon as I finish. But I was laying on his couch, and this was like the first time this happened to me because it hadn't happened prior.
Hmm.
And I kind of it was kind of a trip. Like I was worried that I was gonna be in a coma
Oh
because
wow.
I that was the first time that I felt my body laying on the on his, because he had leather couches and I could feel the leather. I could feel the
Mhm.
little indents in the leather touching my skin because obviously I was on it. I could hear like his dog barking. I could hear his dog breathing. I could hear him breathing. I could hear his brother, his sister, his mom, all simultaneously like sleeping. And um while also at the same time I was in my dream state, I guess you could say, was at my mom's house, and I didn't know why I was there. But I went to my mom's house and it was like smoky, like it was smoking, like there was smoke
I forgot
everywhere.
about this story. I forgot about this story until now.
And like when I woke up the next morning, I was like freaking out. I was like, we have to go to my house. Like, And you were like, why? And I was like, don't, I'll explain on the way. Like, we gotta go. And we left to go to my mom, like to go back to where I lived at the time, obviously. And when we got there, I like ran inside to see if like what the fuck I was seeing. And my mom was like wiping up at the top of like where the stove is, because I guess the stovetop was left on and it was burning like the tin foil that was on above it, and it
Yeah, like on the
caused,
fan or whatever.
yeah, and it like caused it to be smoky, and she had the doors open when we got there, and she was like yelling at me saying, because she thought it was my fault. And
And you were like, no,
I
I
was
was
like,
at Kevin's.
yeah, she's like, you need to fucking
Well,
be smart. Like, you're gonna burn the house down and all this bullshit. And yeah, dude. And that still wasn't really what sold it to me. I was just kind of like, I just thought it was
Wait, but
odd.
because like when you were on my couch and you were having this sort of vision or whatever, wasn't the house already really foggy and smoky?
Yeah,
You didn't know what had happened?
but when we got there, she had the doors open, so like it was still smoking. You could smell burning, like something burnt, but like it was had kind of aired out. Like there was still light smoke, but it was like aired out because she had opened the windows and the doors. But
so you didn't
on
like
every
actually project yourself in there and turn on the stove.
no, I didn't do that. I just went
He's
and
like, no, I swear.
like I
Wait.
well
I
I
don't know,
couldn't
Jose. I'm not
okay.
sure if I believe you.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest though. I don't, and I still don't
He's like,
know.
I wanted to.
Well,
He's like,
no,
I
shut
wanted
up.
to. I'm
Shut
just
up.
kidding.
No. What I'm saying is I can't astral, like if you wanted me to astral project somewhere and like move things in your house, I wouldn't be able to move things because it's like I'm a ghost. Like you
Yeah.
Yeah,
could,
you're a ghost.
so I couldn't, even if I wanted to, I can't do anything. I mean, maybe if I practice, who knows if that's even possible in our state of being, but yeah, so it's not like I could actually do it if I wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
So
um,
I kind
Yeah,
of
no,
want
I was
to,
just messing with you.
I kind of want to
Yeah.
redirect for a second. So
Okay.
if I may, like, Greg
Yeah, go ahead.
had a guest on before that was who had written a book about astral
okay,
projection.
well, will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you hold that thought for just a second? I gotta go pee.
Same.
Yeah. Me too.
Tea
Me
break.
too. We've been
Tea
drinking.
break.
Can we? Yeah. Okay.
So that experience kind of like was weird, and it wasn't really what sold me. Really, I just that's what I meant. Where I was like, a lot of things have happened throughout the last 4 or 5 years that I can't really deny. Like I can't say that.
Mhm.
Like it's getting harder and harder with every experience that I to be like, okay, well, I'm
I do want to say something to Greg. You don't have to post this, by the way, if you're feeling like this is getting too conversational or whatever. I did want to have this conversation with the two of you, but if Greg, if you don't feel like this
Yeah,
is
I
something
mean,
you
I'm
should
definitely gonna
post.
post this. Yeah.
Okay. Because
It's definitely
I
going
feel
on
like
Spotify.
we could get even weirder, but it's like, does
I
that
mean,
do we want that to be on Greg's
can I
podcast?
just get a little tiny bit weirder?
Do it.
Get way
We're
weirder.
all drunk.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
so what really sold me is, and I don't, I mean, you can believe me or not,
Yeah.
but I, what really sold me is I went to a friend's like
Mhm.
family gathering, like they were celebrating a birthday party,
Yeah.
and
Wait, you went there in a dream or
no, I went there to celebrate, to have fun. It was a
like
friend's
in
In
real
like
life?
reality, in real
Okay.
life, yeah.
in real
Okay.
life. It wasn't a dream. This was real.
Okay.
And they lived in an apartment, and I they lived at the top floor of the apartment complex.
Yeah.
And they had a balcony, and I was sitting because so I was sitting in their house, like in their living room, and they were cooking. There was a bunch of guests there.
Yeah.
Um, and I had this really sense of like love, and like it overwhelmed me. Like I've had this feeling like of something so precious, so loving. And I look over, and this guy comes out of their like hallway, like out of the, almost like he's coming out of the bedrooms.
Yeah.
That like yeah. and goes to the kitchen, and I was like confused. Like I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then he goes and he like is talking to her, and but she's not really responding. He's just saying, he's like sniffing and like looking at her
Sniffing.
food. Like he's sniffing her food that she's like cooking. And then she goes to cut like I don't know, vegetables or something. Like she was making something, she was cutting something up on a cutting board, and he puts his hand on her like shoulder, and when he does that, she like immediately like switches and she drops the knife. Like she kind of like she felt it in a sense, and she like started to kind of, it looked like she was gonna cry, but then she just smiled and she picked up the knife and like started rinsing it off. And I was like, and then he came up to me and he was like, can you see me? And I like looked around at everybody, and I was like, yeah, like what are you talking about? And then I was like, and then the person sitting next to me was like, are you okay? Because I was talking, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I started to kind of realize like this is not,
Yeah.
like I just had like, it was
Other
like a,
people cannot see this person.
yeah, like it was like it was like something that just came to my mind where I knew that it was not.
Mm.
So I got up and I walked out to their balcony and I stared out at the, like out at the balcony, and he came out and was like, you need to tell her that I'm here. He was like, you need to tell her that and he gave me, so this is what he told me. He was like, you need to tell her that I'm here, and that I'm here every celebration, for every birthday, every holiday, every Christmas, I'm here. He explained in deeper detail. He was like, I loved her. It was his, like, her dad. He was like, I loved her so much, and he basically and it's sad because in the time that he's telling me this, I can feel his emotions,
Mm.
like, but he told me that he's like, I come every holiday, every birthday, every all that. And he was like, near the end of my passing, like she took care of me, and she wanted she he gave me this story, like he told me that she would, because he ended up having cancer, and while she was taking care of him, and he ended up, she would like drive home, and she would ask him if he wanted to go to McDonald's, and he would tell her no, like, let's just go home, like, I love it when you cook. And he would always tell her that, and he would always tell her every time that they did have like family get-togethers for any holiday or birthday or anything like that, he loved it when she cooked, and he would always tell her that. And he told me that like the reason why he always comes like every holiday and birthday and all that, he always comes and he puts his hand on her shoulder to let her know that he's there.
In that experience, did you
And I
ever
just,
chat
well,
with
like
the
so this was the first experience that I had with like that, and I didn't know what to do. Um, Luckily, it kind of all fell into place because she came out, because they had their blinds open, and I was literally talking to
Yeah.
myself.
Wait, so
So
was this after the Pizza Hut experience?
yeah, this was like way after. I think you were in
So like
college at
after
this
you
point.
started, so like after you started astral projecting, you could see other people astral projecting basically. Although this was a dead person.
I guess
it's a little bit
it's,
Jose could see people before, but it
but
was
it.
becoming more apparent now,
Okay.
Well,
if that makes sense.
I had never helped anyone prior to this though, and this is
Right.
what really sold me, because she came out and she's like, "Are you okay?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Why? Like, I'm fine. I'm just breathing some fresh air, you know. And it's getting kind of hot in there with everybody, or something like that." And she was like, "Okay, but you're like talking to yourself." And I was like, and I just kind of was like, "Shit." I was like, "Shit."
Yeah.
Um,
Shit,
and then I
sorry.
was like, and then he was like behind me, and mind you, he looks like a regular person. He doesn't look see through. He doesn't look like a ghost.
Yeah, he just looks like a person that was at the
Yeah, like,
party.
and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't mean to like offend you or like get you mad or hurt your feelings or anything along those lines. And she's like, okay, it's okay, like tell me what. And I was like, and I told her, I was like, he says he's your dad. Um, he's like dark skinned, he has white hair. He had like sideburns, but he didn't have hair up here. So he all his like right ear
Yeah.
was, and it was all white. I explained that to her, and she started to like tear up, like her eyes started watering up. And I was like, he told me to tell you that I, w- I was like, he always said that he loved your cooking and he loved holidays and birthdays because he loved your cooking. And I guess near the end of his passing, he died of cancer. I think it was colon cancer. I don't remember what, but I he did tell me what it was, and that she near the end she took care of him. And but mind you, this is like my friend's like aunt, so it's not like I knew her. Like it's not like I knew
Yeah.
any of this.
Wait, your friend's aunt,
Yeah,
the the person talking to you that no one else could see was the aunt?
no,
No,
was
no,
the
that was
father,
the aunt's dad.
the aunt's dad. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
on her
okay?
father's side. So
For
Yeah.
some
on
reason, when you told this story to me, I thought it was your friend and it was
no,
their dad, but
well,
it was your
I told
friend's
you an
aunt.
incident that happened with my friend too, but
Oh, okay,
and it
okay.
was
That's
her
why I was
grandma.
confused.
But anyway,
Right.
so and I was like, and he says that he never misses any holidays, that he always shows up, because your cooking makes him happy, and him seeing you cook, even though he's not here, he can still smell like the aromas of your food. And he says that he puts his hand on your shoulder to let you know that he's here. And she like started bawling. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Like, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I was not. We're supposed to be having a happy moment. Like, and she's like, no, no, no. Like, and then she like left. She like opened the door and left. Like, ran like into the apartment. And I was like, fuck, dude. And then she came back with like a picture, and it was a group of people, and she was like, dude, the person that you saw, is it any of these people? And it was a dude like on the upper left corner, because it was a group. It was almost like a, when you do a like when you
Yeah.
take pictures with the whole school, like it was kind of like that. And so I pointed him. I
Yeah.
was like, that's the guy that I'm seeing. And that's when she's really started to just like let it go. Like she started crying, and she was like, that's my dad.
Yeah.
And she
And was he
believed
still there, like next to you guys, or did he like
he was
disappear
still
or
there
whatever?
next to us. Yeah. And then he just said thank you, and then he did start to like just fade away. Um, and she was like, she cried and talked to me about him, and like she wouldn't let me leave the kitchen. She kept trying to. She was talking to me about him, and like and I didn't end up leaving until this was like at 6 p.m., and I didn't end up leaving till like 1 in the morning because she wanted to talk to me that entire time about him. And so like I don't know. And I've had so many different encounters since then, and even how people that don't even live in Idaho Falls as well. So
Yeah.
I
Wait, what do
I
you
don't
mean?
know,
Yeah.
What
What
do
do
you
you
mean?
like
mean?
that lady who's I talked to you about this,
Oh, yeah.
like the lady
You
with.
can explain that if you want, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want
Explain
to go
it.
through every. I don't really want to go
Yeah,
through
yeah.
every like.
I forgot what you meant. Sorry, I
But
don't have
yeah,
my yeah.
but like that lady who her husband died and she lived in another state. And I saw it happen, and I.
Well, I'll tell the one that happened recently
Yeah.
that you were talking about is
Yeah.
there
Go
was the
for it.
case there was this case where this man, he was like a 30, 40-year-old pizza driver,
And he
and
didn't live here, and it didn't
yeah,
happen at this time.
he lived in like Ohio or somewhere like Minnesota or somewhere, and he died in like 2003 or 2007. um a group of individuals conspired and strapped a bomb on onto him, and they had him do a bunch of tasks because they were trying to rob a bank or something, right? And then he ended up,
Well, they had him rob banks and stuff like
they
that.
had
Yeah.
him rob banks with the bomb thing. And I guess this individual had made himself known to Jose. And Jose was like telling me all the information. And I was like looking it up, and I was like, and he was like, yeah, but it was like 3 people and this and that.
And
And
I
I
was
was like
able to
looking
tell
up,
you the name of the
yeah,
person at that time,
you were able
but
to tell me the name. And I was like, I was all looking it up, and I was like, yeah, there was this guy who died in like 2003 or whatever it was. It was like, I guess it, I don't know if it was like a big case or anything in the United States, but I guess the point was that sometimes it seems random people who have no relation to like Jose or anyone that he knows will like make themselves
like they'll
known.
just, but it's not like I can control it. It's not like I say like I want to see your grandparent. Like they just
You're just like a
um
window
yeah,
that
they just like
they can
come.
almost see.
Like I don't know, like maybe if I was, let's say I was there with you right now and we were hanging out, and like someone that died came into came to see you, then maybe I would see them, if that makes sense. It's not like
Mhm.
I would be like, I want to see the specific person,
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
I think for a while, I mean, I at least I was curious about could Jose not like summon someone, but I was curious if he could do that. And I think we're still unsure, or we don't know, or probably not, because it's not like these, if there are people sort of floating about in different
Yeah.
dimensional systems, it's they still have their access to their free will. They're not just like slaves of, Jose's intent, but
Yeah.
we're still trying to fill out to what extent he can sort of call forth, or
So I know
whatever.
you told
And
me
I
about
was
that U of I experience with the like the on the
With the
Hispanic lady
Yes, do you
on
want to talk
the
about that,
house.
Jose? Well, can I tell my side, and then
yeah.
Jose can tell his story? So as I
Sure,
was
go for it.
staying in the Pike house for the summer, working on the house, this was before
Yeah.
my mom had passed. I A couple of people in the fraternity, including some sorority girls, they
Yeah.
were just um I don't know if I should just use names or not. Should I use names?
No,
I guess
don't use
okay.
names. Yeah.
So people were saying that they were seeing in it like
Mhm.
an essence or an individual or a shadow. And one of my fraternity brothers was like, yeah, I saw a woman, she looked Native American or Latina, and she was wearing a traditional type of dress. Another fraternity brother had said they didn't see what it looked like, but they had kept on noticing this sort of shadow figure in the other
Yeah.
in the corners or whatever. And then a sorority girl had came to the house one day and heard a bunch of footsteps and realized no one was home. And she said that she had literally got chased out of the house
Mm.
that day. And she was like, no, and I was at work, everyone else was at work. So she was like, what the
She
hell
got
was
chased
that?
out by the ghost.
She said she when she realized no one was home and she was hearing the footsteps on the top
Yeah.
floor, she started to get really scared. So she started to run out, and she could hear these footsteps following behind her. But when she consulted us all later, because there was only 5 of us living in the house at the summer, she was like, hey, were any of you guys home? We were like, no, I was at work. He was at work, blah, 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 blah. She was like, well, this literally happened. And that's when everyone was sharing their stories of their
Wow.
different encounters. And my
Encounters with
encounter,
him.
I never saw anything. I'm not like, my psyche is not
Mhm.
equipped for that. I think I would shit my pants if it was. But my encounter was I was assembling the beds for the newcomers in the bottom floor, and I had gotten a call from someone, I can't remember who, but I had left the room to take this call. And when I hung up the phone and went back into the room, the light was off and it was on before. And I remember sitting there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I was like, I did not turn off that light because I had
Yeah.
taken this call so fast I had just sort of like run out. I wouldn't have thought to, but for me, my experience was very 50-50 because like I was like, maybe I did turn off the light, but
Yeah.
I remember it being jolting enough where I was questioning it. Um,
Yeah.
so given what Jose and I were sort of going through on our own end, I asked him to sort of see what he could see. And
Yeah.
this is now you can go, Jose. That was
And
my
at
side.
the
Like you
time
asked
I
him to go
could,
to the house
I asked
yeah.
him, yeah,
in
yeah,
his
and
dream.
see,
And at
yeah.
the time I couldn't do it like in a waking state. I still had to like lay down and so I was like, okay, I was like, I don't know what you're expecting, dude. I'm not there. I don't know. Like, and I did it and I went to hit the sorority, like their freaking frat house, and I saw the lady. I don't fully remember details, but I do know that she was from like not our time period. 'Cause she was dressed in like old, like almost like the Maiden's Tale, if you've ever seen that show.
Just
She was
like
Yeah,
dressed
old,
in,
like 1800s,
yeah, and
1800s. Yeah.
like
so
Victorians era.
I can't remember why she was mad, but she
I
was,
remember you saying she was distraught. Like you said she was like upset.
or
She was
yeah,
distraught.
and I can't remember what it was. I wish I did, but I did end up helping her, and she ended up like being like she ended up being happy near the end. I think she was looking for someone, and that place was like
She was
where
sort
she
of
would have.
tethered to that place in a way.
And yeah, and I kind of like explained to her. I don't remember exactly. That was forever ago, but I did talk to her, and at first she was like pissed, like she was slamming doors and like she wouldn't really talk to me. And I was like, I was just like, I'm just here to help you, like. And I remember telling her something like, look, do you acknowledge? Do you first? Because I think what made her like understand what I was like, that I wasn't there to hurt her, was because I made a statement that I was like, look, you've been here for I don't know how long. Judging by your clothes, you've been
Bitch,
here.
you've been here for 200 years.
I was like, judging by your clothes, it's been a long time. And in that time, how many people have came to visit you? How many people have spoken to you like I'm talking to you right now? Like, and and I remember her getting mad because she's like, nobody will like acknowledge me. Nobody is telling like me where this individual is, or um, and then I kind of after that she gave me the benefit of the doubt, I guess, and like was talking to me. I don't remember what I did to help her though.
Did you say
And
to
then
her like
I
you
just talked to her about something. She talked to me about the person she was trying to find, and I told her like it was a gradual, like beautiful thing to go through because she started her being really offended and really annoyed with everybody, and it kind of slowly progressed into the narrative where she had an understanding. Like she started talking to me about this person because I told her, I was like, tell me about this person. Like, why are you looking for them? Why are they? Why do you care about them so much? And like she explained things that and reasons why, and I was like, and I kind of gave to the I kind of went ended with like, okay, well they're not here anymore. Like, and I was just kind of like, do you see anything around you? And like, do you does anything like there's nothing like I kind of explained. I was like, there's nothing really holding you here. You can go and be free in whatever like state that you're supposed to be right now. And she like did she did end up fading away. Explained like a sense of love or something, but
a
she ended
sense
up
of
fading.
love or something? She just
Well,
dissolved
what
into universal love.
well she explained that she was feeling these
No big
feelings, and
deal. I'm just
she was just explaining these feelings, and I could feel them. They were
Yeah.
overwhelming me too. And then she ended up like she started to smile, and like then she started to fade away, and then I woke up and then I called you and I told you what happened, and then you said after that that nothing.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the weird from my side again was a couple of months had passed by, and I had asked the three individuals who had
It's
experienced
also
something.
seen something, yeah.
I had asked them like, have they seen anything? And they said, I haven't seen it for a couple of months. And like months and months and months later, one of them said that they think they had an experience, but but for many months they had said there was nothing there. So, and I don't, and maybe who knows what that last
Yeah.
experience was, if it was anything at all. But it was interesting because this was all happening just between me and Jose, like this whole narrative.
Yeah.
Of course, I had the knowledge of what the other people were saying to me, so I was
Yeah.
just sort of trying to like check different boxes and whatever.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that like this sort of happened, and the others that were saying they were experiencing something, like, no, it seemed to have disappeared for 3 or 4 months or
And to
whatever.
clarify, you never told Jose that you saw that people were seeing a ghost there. You just told him to go
No, I
there.
did. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure I did. I did say,
Okay.
and I said that one of the people, because like the others were seeing like a black shadowy figure, but one of them had given a description,
But
and I think
I don't think you
yes,
told me the
yeah, yeah,
description
yeah,
until
yeah,
after I
yeah,
came.
right. Because I
And then,
said one of them gave me a description, which was 1800s sort of clothing, female, but I withheld that from you because I wanted to see what you saw. And then after you said, when you told me your experience, I said, that's exactly what so and so said, as far as the clothing and the gender of the individual.
yeah,
If so, if that does that add up?
I don't know. Well, it's still like hard for someone that isn't experiencing it to believe it unless they actually
Yeah.
go
Because
through it. So,
I guess the fact of the matter is, it's not that I never, I mean, not believed. I've known Jose for so long that I know he's
Yeah.
we're both stubborn in a lot of ways, but I know he's not a
well, yeah,
liar.
because we would get
So
into, yeah, because
yeah, we get in a lot of fights, but
it's
I
so.
I would test him more than probably anyone else would test him, because I was curious for my
Sanity.
own beliefs. Yeah, like I was
Yeah.
like, I need to figure this out. So I would
Well, and
intentionally,
I do think though that in the beginning stages of doing this, I think the reason why it took me longer to get to this period now was because of your attitude. Was because if you like put
you're like, you had a bad attitude.
you put so much pressure on me to like find something out that it like
Right.
overwhelmed me, and I was
And
like, dude,
and my intention was not to put this much pressure. I was just saying, like, I was trying to view it as if I was completely like a non-believer or non-skeptic, what kind of
Yeah.
things would need to happen for this to be received more seriously. And so I was putting him through my own sort of testing process for my own sanity, but also like,
but also in like a
yeah,
sense of like urgency that I was like
right.
not
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
where
I
I
think,
couldn't,
yeah,
yeah.
I
You were
definitely
sending
like
this podcast to Sam and Colby for sure.
who's
Huh?
that? Who's Sam and Colby?
Sam and Colby? Oh, they're like viral, like YouTube ghost investigators. They like go to like houses, investigate like
Well,
hauntings and everything.
they're gonna knock on Pike's doors like, bitch, this ghost already left.
Oh my god.
Anyway, okay. So Greg, what's going through your mind right now?
I know, I feel like you got quiet really quickly where you were like bubbly at first and now you're just kind of like
Here, let
overwhelmed.
me say something. Like, I feel like I've been mentioning Jose
Yeah,
to some close friends of mine for like what, three or
years.
four years now.
And I
And
would make
no, no,
hold
no,
up,
listen.
pause for no.
Every single time I was like, hey, like let's do like a phone call, or oh, Jose might come up or something. Every time it fell through. And I was like, I'm pretty sure my friends think that I have an imaginary friend
And well,
That
that's what I
doesn't
would always joke about that. And I even joked about it here when we were gonna do this. I was gonna, I told
he
him when we came to this, like when you sent us this, that I was gonna pretend like I didn't know anything
know
about,
anything.
yeah, so that I could make him look
So
like
that
he
I
was
looked
crazy.
crazy.
But obviously, I was
These are the kind
joking.
of,
But
yeah.
No, like,
But
yeah,
it's funny because
no, I
I
gotta be
wondered if
honest with you. I totally thought, like, I feel like Kevin might be making this stuff up just to get
listen,
attention. I was just like,
yeah,
no, I would specifically think about poor Greg when I would think about this situation because the amount of times that I had, well, and the reason I would bring up Jose to you is because of the nature of our friendship and the nature of the
yeah,
conversations that we would
yeah,
have.
okay,
yeah,
wait,
Like
pause
I'm
though, pause though. I
yeah.
want to know, Greg, your honest opinion. What did you think when he was telling you this?
probably that he's fucking
About you?
nuts.
Yeah, like, did you think that I was a real person? Did he ever show you photos of me, or did he just
He, no,
talk?
he never showed. Well, like, I believe that you're a real person, and then, but I had like mixed opinions. I was like, well, I mean, yeah, he might be a lucid dreamer. I was like, okay, Kevin knows a lucid dreamer. And then there was like some stories that Kevin told about you that were like, I mean, I feel like that could definitely be either made up by Kevin or made up by Jose, one or the other. And I was just like, I'd have to be Jose to truly,
To know.
I'd have to, yeah,
Yeah.
to truly know if any of this stuff was real. And he told me that Pizza Hut story of, like, that was the
Oh, I
first story
did?
he ever told me about you. Yeah.
Really?
Well, that was
I'm
the
Yeah, yeah.
first
surprised I
story,
told that.
though, I
Yeah,
think.
that's the first thing you ever told me about Jose.
I'm
And so,
surprised because I thought I would have withheld that because it sounds too,
no, no, no.
okay.
And I was like,
Wow.
okay, there's no way to explain that, but somehow I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you think I
The
was okay? I want an honest
No, I
appraisal.
I knew
Did
you
you
were
think
telling me the truth, Kevin.
I
I
think
knew that you were telling me the truth
this is what I
Okay, point
felt.
blank,
from your
point blank,
perspective.
point. Wait, hold up.
Wait, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Point blank. Wait,
This is
point.
wait,
Shut up,
listen.
shut up. Hold up. Point blank, simple. Was there a part of
Yeah.
you that thought he was crazy?
Probably.
Don't
That
lie.
thought Kevin was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin is crazy.
Kevin
Why?
is
Yeah, but
here, here's what I think. I don't think Greg
Yeah.
ever thought I was like lying, but he knew that I believed what I was saying.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that he believed that I
What was
was making
happening was
an
true.
accurate exactly. Like he knew that I wasn't intentionally lying, but that maybe Kevin had an inaccurate appraisal of what was going on.
Yeah, I kind of thought, well, I think Kevin's the kind of person that would want to believe that
Hmm.
everything that his friend is telling him is true and is accurate and is
So there's a
happening.
bias. There's a bias there.
Yeah, so I was like, well, it might be true, it might not be true, but at the end of the day, Kevin believes it to be true.
well, I
Right.
Right.
think what really hit home for him though is I spoke to his mom after she passed as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
Most
he, yeah,
you can do
and
you want to go
he,
into that, or Greg, do you want to hear about that, or is
Yeah.
that too okay?
No, I'd love to.
Go into that. I'm gonna go take a pee really quick, but you can start going into that.
Okay.
okay. Well, he, it was like
Yeah, go for it.
it was shortly after his mom had passed.
Yeah.
And even I remember going over to his house, um, and we were looking through photos, like boxes and boxes of like
Yeah.
memories and stuff that like her old record music,
Yeah.
in a box. And she appeared in the room. She didn't really talk to me, but she just like, I looked up because we were all like standing next to each other,
Yeah.
like around their dining room table. And I like kind of looked up and I saw her standing by them, like
Mm.
at the very end of the line of everybody. And she was just smiling. And she looked up at me and she like walked behind them and like she winked at me as she walked behind
Yeah.
them and then she like faded. And I was just like, um, and then I did end up telling him that. And then she ended up coming to me in a dream state. Like she ended up coming to me
Yeah.
and she brought me to this like penthouse. It's like really luxurious penthouse. And at first she was an adult, like she was a grown, like she was with the way that I saw her when I met her, like
Yep.
a mom looking, like, and she like her physical form changed in front of me to like her to our age.
Yeah.
And like she like was like, I was like so like stunned. I was like, how did you do that? Like she's like, I just changed into like the age I was to your age so that you feel less uncomfortable speaking to me.
Mhm.
Pretty much is like the gist. And so, and she had given me all these, she'd talk to me, and like she would even come when he was having like issues, she would come and like I would
That
and
was
talk
more
to me.
recently, right? Like
Yeah.
this year, because me and Jose weren't talking for a year. We got
Yeah, and
into
she wouldn't leave me the hell alone. She's like, you need to talk to him, like, and she
so
was like,
Jose and I got into a fight earlier this year, and we weren't talking. We had
it
a
wasn't
falling
earlier
out
this year, it was the last year.
last year, whatever time is irrelevant. And I blocked
Yeah.
Jose. Jose blocked me. We're just both stubborn people, and we get into these very
Yeah.
heavy whatever.
Arguments,
But I
disagreements.
keep on getting these like calls from random numbers, and finally I pick up, and I
And I
keep on
was
thinking,
like,
I'm like, it's the IRS, it's the Indians in like the scam call centers, whatever. But I finally pick up on one, and
Yeah.
it's Jose, and he's like,
see, and this is the fucked up thing though. He only picked up because he thought it was like a college friend, because I was in
Coeur
I
d'Alene.
was
I thought it
heard of
was.
like,
I
yeah.
thought it was. I actually thought it was you, Greg, because the phone call said from Coeur d'Alene.
From Coeur d'Alene.
And that's why he picked
Jose,
up,
you're
and
in
I
Coeur
was like,
d'Alene? That
yeah.
Dude, he
Well, I
went to
didn't know that
Moscow 2 weeks ago, and I'm so pissed because I was like,
really?
"There's so."
yeah, it was fun. Yeah. But no, I was
Anyway,
explaining to him like in the beginning where she brought me to like this penthouse type, this luxurious place, and then she changed form from being your mom to being our age. You're like, are you listening?
yeah, I was gonna say Jose would have ignored my bitch ass for at least 40 more years if it weren't for
I
my
would have for the
my
yeah.
my dead ass crusty ass mom bothering him.
Well, no, and then she would come to me, and like it got bad because it wasn't even just like her coming to me in dreams. She was coming to me in physical form and was like, he's like depressed, and I was like, okay, and what do you want me to do about that? Like, I'm depressed
I
here.
mean, that's true. Yeah,
Leave me alone.
exactly. We're
Like,
all fucking depressed.
I
Like,
was like, what do you want me to do? I can't even handle my own depression. How am I supposed to help his bitch ass? Like,
you're like Gwen, leave me the fuck alone.
yeah, dude. And she would open my door and slam it, and when I was trying to go to bed, and like,
Wait.
would,
Like your physical door?
yeah, like my room door, and would turn on
Oh.
my light, and it
So
would
she
Okay,
annoy
like
let's
me.
haunted
let's
you.
let's slow
Yeah.
down.
Anyway,
Let's slow down.
let's go back to when the beginning when she came to me in a dream and she changed form to
Yeah.
like a teenage, like to our age, to like an
And
early 20.
when was that? When was that physically? Like how many? When was that after she physically passed? That she started coming to you as a teen or like younger?
I'm pretty sure it was like early. It was like probably the first time that I went to her. Well, I didn't go to her. I
What
woke up in
was that
her
like? Was that like a month after she physically passed? A week? I can't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't remember. It was after she passed, obviously. But the first encounter that I saw of your mom was, remember when we were looking at her old records in the
That's
box and
right.
your grandma was there. And then I saw
And
her like,
so I was called back to Idaho Falls because
Yeah.
we had to sort out, we had to give away everything that
Yeah, I
we ever
remember that.
do.
Yeah.
And we were sorting through these records, and I remember I think I came across a Fleetwood Mac CD, or
Hmm.
it was a CD that I knew my mom loved because she loved Fleetwood Mac,
Hmm.
Enya, Stevie Nicks, whatever, uh, a few different artists. And I remember like picking up a CD, and I was like, oh, like my mom loved this girl or like this artist or whoever, Cat Stevens. It was someone like that.
Yeah.
And my grandma was there, and Jose was just there, like being quiet or whatever.
Hmm.
And At the time, he didn't mention anything to me because he was like, "This is obviously really raw for Kevin." And obviously, and my grandma was there, so he's not going to just start talking. But
Yeah, because I feel
later
like if I
on,
would have said it with
yeah,
your grandma there, she probably would have kicked me out.
yeah. But later on, he was like, "So Kevin, I don't know if like this is going to offend you or whatever, but like I saw your mom coming up to you and putting like her hand on your shoulder or something like that."
Well,
As I was,
she was standing by because we were all like I was at the very end, and then it was you and your sister, and then your brother, and then your grandma, and she was
yeah,
standing next to your grandma smiling, and then she passed by all of you and like gave you guys a brush of her hand, but not like on your
can
backs, like
can you tell the story to Greg and I guess to the audience of that time you went to the experience with Gwen and she like had shown you this song and it happened
yeah.
to be the song. Yeah, tell that
Well,
story.
it wasn't like she showed it to me. She like, and it was cute
Well,
because
just
everything.
start from
Yeah.
the beginning so that the
Yeah,
audience
start from the
or
beginning.
Greg
Well,
understands the concept.
well, in the beginning, she came to me and was like, she kind of was like, she was trying to like make like her whole like her presence in the beginning was just to like have people acknowledge that she wasn't in pain because she had died like in a very
Mhm.
like was not doing great at
Peaceful
the end,
way.
and
Oh,
she was, yeah, like,
shoot.
Wait, what'd
so
you say,
her
Greg?
That
she
was,
was
well,
what?
I mean, that was like,
She
oh,
was
like
having
she
a
died in a peaceful way, or
no, she
no,
had
No,
a hard
that's
time.
she had a hard time
shoot.
dying. She did, and her whole purpose of
And to
her like
back up, she
talking.
had brain cancer, right?
No,
Was that what it
mesophilic is
was?
a lung cancer, but it spread everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
Oh,
and
wow.
so near the end, she didn't even really look like herself,
Wow.
and that was the whole point of her coming to me. It was because she wanted her kids to know that she was good,
Yeah.
that she was like vibrating, and like she was living like in a sense, like obviously not living in our, but that she was okay.
Reality.
Yeah, and
Yeah, she was okay.
she was okay. Like she was funner than most of the kids that we went to school with. Like she literally acted, and I loved when she changed not that I didn't, I loved her even in like her regular form that I knew her. And I don't understand why she did this because she changed her form in front of me to be the age that she looked when she was our age. And she was like, I did this because I was like, what are you doing? Like, how did you do that? And she's like, well, I'm not tied to a specific like mindset
Form.
or body. I'm 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 freer than you can possibly even imagine being in like the physical form. And she was like, but I just did this because I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable talking to a mom, you know? And I
Yeah.
was, and I was,
I'm
she
also
sat
like
down
almost
next.
wondering, if we're all one, like say, in your mindset, if we're all one, then could this also be not necessarily Kevin's mother, but almost like God or some kind of entity like the universe kind of holding itself out and showing you
The
itself in
form.
the form of Kevin's mother?
No,
Can I
No?
respond to that?
it is not.
Because
Go.
well, wait, can I respond to because
Yeah.
so
Go,
what when
go ahead.
before you were gonna come on this podcast,
Mm,
uh Jose, Greg and I had this plan that we were gonna mention the subject of what was it? Like mysticism and the dissolution of the ego and
yeah.
the difference
Yep.
between the dissolution of the self.
Yep.
From my understanding, and then Jose, I want you to give your sort of
Hmm.
response. As a human, we believe we have this concept that you're either one or you're separate, and those are contradictory terms.
Hmm.
But let's say there's this like sort of larger system of we're apart.
Mhm.
You having an identity, like
Yeah.
Greg exists, And the knowledge, the self-knowing of Greg knowing himself as Greg exists doesn't contradict the fact that Greg is also the one. And I
It
think, and when we talk about sort of like Buddhist concepts, they talk about this sort of dissolution of the self into a nirvana state, or this
Yeah.
sort of super state of where the self dissolves completely. There's no identity. There's just this whole conglomeration of energy. And my current mindset is that that does exist, but the identity never loses itself. There's some kind of substance of an identity where we're able to coexist in this interesting state that is probably impossible for us to understand while physical, but
well, that's so
we're
I do.
aware of our oneness, but we're
Yes,
also an identity.
but
Yeah.
I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
it's hard
Yeah.
it's hard to grasp or understand, like, and I know that's like that's not what you want to hear, because it's not really giving you any answers, but
No.
we are all
That's the answer I want to hear, the one that doesn't give any answers, because that means it's honest.
we are all one.
Yeah.
And we all are. That's why earlier on in the conversation before, I had stated, like,
Yeah.
if you got to this level of existence, there would be no competition, there would be no war, no one,
Hmm.
because we all understand that we are a collective of each other, if that makes sense. It's a weird thing to grasp, but we still have a conscious mindset of ourself, because
Hmm.
every going back to me stating, like, that world where I was famous, where I had that dream,
Yeah.
and other dreams that I've had of other realities that I was living.
Yeah.
When I die, everything is gonna become one. So
Hmm.
when you die, everything that you every version of yourself as Greg is going to align. You're going to see every
Wait,
probability
wait, Jose, hold on.
oh my god.
So I guess to like go back to Greg's question though. So
Hmm.
when you're talking to Gwen, quote unquote,
Quote unquote.
are you talking to the
Yes, and this
universe
is
as
aligning.
Gwen, or are you talking to Gwen as Gwen, but in a that I right?
I'm
Is that
talking, so that's, yes, I am still talking to Gwen. It is very much her energy, but but I will say that it is a piece of her, not all of her. It's just the piece of her that raised you, if that makes sense. It's not
Yeah.
her entire being. There's infinite, and some of her beings are still alive today.
sorry, I didn't
Her
mean to cut you off, but I just want to make sure that you are answering Greg's
well,
question like
I
to what?
So
I was
Jose, you're like so you like feel like or believe or know even that we do live in a multiverse. There's infinitely many
we do.
realities. And that's like that's kind of what you've developed over time through lucid dreaming and astral
Hmm.
projection.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Greg, is do you what's your sort of current mindset? Do you feel in a sense that we dissolve, or do you feel like there's like when Greg dies, do you feel like there is a personality about you, like a self-awareness of yourself as Greg that continues, or do you feel like you sort of dissolve into an ether where you're no longer aware of yourself as Greg?
The way that I've and like obviously I have absolutely no clue what happens after I die. And I think no matter what, unless you die, that's like
You'll
the only
know.
time that you're really gonna know for sure. Um,
Well,
Wait, hold on, let Greg finish.
oh,
I'm
sorry.
just
Yeah.
curious if
yeah.
Jose,
So like the way
yeah.
that I've conceptualized it the past few years of dying, the way that I believe happens after you die is that you basically get your sense of individuality is basically dissolved and you become one with everything. Like you kind of just like it's almost like becoming nothing and everything at the same time, and you kind of become like warped into God, for lack of a better term. You basically just become God. It's like we're a droplet of water, and then when
Mhm.
you die, you get tossed in the ocean.
We're
Mhm.
what's that Rumi quote? We're not the ocean in a drop, we're the whole drop in the ocean.
And I guess in like a sense that is the what I'm stating,
Yeah,
but through my perspective. But it it's not where you like die and you're just dead. Like it's
yeah,
and I can say that we do get reincarnated, but it's our will to be reincarnated. So it does happen. Like, but you choose it to happen. Like you want to come back for whatever reason.
mm.
As weird as that sounds.
So it's kind of like, so in your perspective, when you die, there's kind of, it's not like just one thing happens. There's like many different possibilities of what will happen
Yeah.
after you die, in a sense. Like you might get reincarnated, you might,
Yeah, well,
um,
but you choose it. You
You
choose
okay,
this
to.
I think this is the part that people are like
Well, I think this is
they're
the
they're slow to understand. They I think we're so used to as a species projecting our power outside where we think there's this like karmic system that's like you did a bad thing, you did a good thing, so you're going to be redistributed in this way. Or there's this like God out
mhm,
here that's like, hey Kevin, like, did you see what you did? And it's like,
yeah,
oh, now you have to. But I think we're oh, people are, I think, starting to open up to this idea that all of these sort of punishments or rewards are self-imposed
yeah,
because at the
yeah,
end of the day, like we, if I may say, like we chose to come, we chose to go through the challenge. So
yeah,
we are our own judge. And that doesn't mean to go out and be like an asshole to people and be like, oh, I'm my own judge, because we come here with a meaning and a purpose, and at our core we're love. And so
mhm,
when we fall short of that, we definitely feel the sense of like, okay, I can do better next time or whatever it is. So it doesn't mean just to be an asshole because you're your own judge, but
yeah.
but
there's
But
not
like
even
this
when you're an
side.
asshole to
even
people,
It hurts you because we're all one.
yeah, do you
If
feel
I
like you're
hurt,
being an asshole to yourself? Like,
no, because our mindsets aren't open to that because we're so we're like a drop of water in our mindset because we were cut off by the rest of our realization so that we could come here, if that makes sense. So not so that's why when you do pass away, you will everything will become you will understand the meaning of living or being this person that you are right now, and you'll understand why you wanted to be this person even though you don't know it now, because when you do come to this level of existence, you're stripped of all of your everything, like your entire being. Not like there's a sense your being is still there, but it's almost like they rehire, like they like cleared your hard drive so that you could still, because if you came knowing everything that you did, there would be no lesson to learn, if that makes sense.
yes.
Yeah, if
Yeah, it's like a choose your own adventure, basically.
yeah,
yeah,
choose your own
and
adventure.
you're fully aware that when you come into this world that you're gonna be wiped clean, but then when you come into it, you're wiped clean, so you don't know
You're like,
anything.
shit, this is when once we get here, we're like, fuck, this is hard as hell. But
Yeah, but you have no concept of like,
yeah, of
so
choose,
it's
yeah,
not like you have anything to compare it to. It's not like, oh well, it's
right.
the reason it's hard for you. The reason why it's so hard is
It's
because you
because you
don't,
believe it to be true. Like,
well, not necessarily that you believe it to be true. It's so hard because you don't have anything to like kind of like, let's say your first relationship, you don't have
Yeah.
anything to
Compare
like
it to.
compare it to until you've been through a relationship and then your second relationship. So like you have nothing
Yeah.
to compare it to because you came onto this earth wiped clean of all thought, of all
Mhm.
memory. So it's hard, and it's supposed to be hard because you're supposed to learn from it. The whole
Yep.
purpose of us existing in any level of existence is to learn from our mistakes. And
Mhm.
when you
And
go
grow.
back to the collective, you will it's hard to tell you the honest, like in detail, because it's no matter how hard I try, I don't think you're gonna grasp it unless you witness it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you will understand, everything will become aligned when you die. Every question that you had in life right now, that you're questioning or worried about, will become they will be answered when you die.
So let's say, okay, because obviously, let's just grant you the benefit of the doubt in this scenario that what you say is like true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For the average person who is not, let's just say, not able to be like consciously aware of all these things,
Mhm.
like able to access, if you were to give them like one or two messages about, okay, how to proceed in their life with more peace or more compassion or happiness, how would you tell, like, how, what advice would you give them to proceed? Does that make sense? But I like,
I
for the average person, like, how, what's a word of advice, a word of encouragement?
and it this is again going to sound corny, but it's something that people really need to take to an extreme, like a reality, is don't take life too seriously,
Mhm.
because it's not that serious. Like
Yeah.
everyone gets really like hung up on like certain things, like the job and like everything that you like accomplish. And it's not to say you shouldn't, because you should strive to be better. But
Mhm.
in those moments, those small moments where where you come out short,
Yeah.
that is a learning curve that you were supposed to go through, that you wanted to go through subconsciously to learn from it, if that makes sense. So,
Mhm.
and it's hard because there are a lot of people, and I truly believe that people who brought this who brought that into like reality, who said like don't take life too seriously, they probably had a sense of what I do to
Mhm.
some degree, or more than, even more surpassed than me. And that's why it's
But
in our
the Bible says children enter the kingdom of God, and children are playful and innocent, and you know what I mean? They see the world in
Yeah.
this very playful
so
way.
you
Yeah.
see, and the thing is, like, that's stripped away from us as we get older, because our parents tell us that we need to start being like mature, and we need to like put childish things away, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
put
need to
childish
kind of
things
get,
away.
yeah, and you need to
Well,
be so
In society.
I have a few
yeah.
things to say about that because it's for one, in your super long dream, there was like, 5 years long. At some
Mhm.
point in the dream, you like it seems like you started to take it seriously, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, this isn't just a dream anymore. Like I'm like
Mhm.
I have to write songs and stuff and perform and everything.
Mhm.
And I think that also happens in life, right?
Mhm.
Where like at first we're innocent, we live in the
Mhm.
kingdom of God, right? We're free and we're not taking it too seriously. And then over time, it's like we get caught up in everything. And
Mhm.
then next thing you know, we're adults. And there's this podcast I listened to called Tangentially Speaking,
Mhm.
and he was saying how in capitalist society in the West, as we get older, we go further away from mystery. But in tribal societies, as you get older, you get closer to mystery. You get closer to this shamanistic tradition. You get closer to trying to understand what happens after death. And I think it's really weird and contorted how our society is like that. where we go further away from all these things and we try to get we almost our society is geared towards taking this life more seriously as we get older. Does
Mhm.
that make any
The more
sense?
the more fear you have, the more they can sell you items and services to combat that fear that they've instilled. So a capitalist society thrives on fear. It needs you to worry about getting sick. It needs you to worry about not being beautiful. It needs you to worry about being too old. It needs you to worry about not being attractive enough. That way it can sell you the items and the services to make you feel like you're all of those things that it convinced you that you're not. And these sort of tribalistic societies, they don't they don't sell you on that stuff, so that because they're not trying to profit off your
Yeah, I
fear.
mean, you're in a community, you're in a like a group of people who love
Yeah.
you, basically,
Sorry, that was like a little mini rant, but
all the time.
that's how it feels. Is capitalism needs to find more things to sell you, so it gives you more things that you lack so that it can sell you more. But some other societies, if people were brought up to know that their power is within them, their worth is within them, a capitalist society can't thrive on that as much. Because if every living individual knew that the power of their contentment was inside of them, what is there to sell? You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I
Yeah,
right.
mean?
well, I also think it's not just capitalism, it's like any form of government where there's like a basically like a big thing hanging over you that tries to control your life, right? Like
Yeah.
any huge civilization where there's just a bunch of people and there's a dictator, there's some kind of big conglomerate of systems in place that are controlling your movements and trying to control people, and just so the people at the top can get more powerful. Basically, agricultural societies, right, where property is a thing and there's so many people that um there's more people in your vicinity than there are people that you care about, right? Because like in a tribal
Oh,
community, there's
I like
only
that.
people that you care about, right?
Right.
And there's only people that you know. But in a big civilization, there's so many people in so many cities that you kind of lose track of how many people there are. And the laws and decisions affect everyone. And like you're not going to want to help like people that you don't know, right? Like you're not going to want to put your money into something that will help people you don't know, which is why,
It's not, I don't think it's in our nature. Well,
yeah,
it's in our nature to empathize with
and
the
help people
people
we
and
know and we
yes,
see that are in our group, right?
yes. And I think we are sort of a progression. We're supposed to extend that farther and farther as we extend out of our group.
Hmm.
But I think we're experiencing, because of technology, such a convoluted sense of like, who even is our community? What is a community?
Yeah.
And so we can't even figure out like who do we help first? Because we can't just help everyone all at once. We have to work from ourselves outwards. But where do we start in a world where you're seeing posts from people like the Kardashians or whoever? It's I feel like, yeah, we're just getting so confused by all of the excess of information that's available to us. Um, I don't know. There's just so many people to help at once. It's like, where do you start? It's like it's intentionally confusing you. Where do you start? There, right? I don't know.
And Jose, do you think it all kind of starts with you, right? It starts with us, with just like helping the people around us. And that's kind of what you've been doing with like talking to people's lost loved ones.
Well, yeah, because it does kind of create a chain reaction where someone, even people like that, have had issues with some people, like where they were not a believer at all, and they didn't believe that I could see this person or talk to this person, and over time they gradually, it like kind of like with that woman at their sorority, whatever, frat
The
house.
fraternity house,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it happens gradually. It happens gradually, and it's like a beautiful thing to watch happen through my eyes, because I acknowledge, because I understand, because while I'm trying to help these two individuals, the one that's living doesn't believe that I'm talking to that person. They think it's a scam. I've been told like that I'm just trying to sell this narrative so that I can get money, even though I've never asked for any money in any narrative. Like, um, and all these things, like they start out not all of them. Some of them are believers to begin with, and it happens easily. But it's the ones that are so hell bent on, like, they don't believe they like. I've had people that say they don't believe when you die, you just die. You're not.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And I can tell. This is how I know that I'm not. That it's not that, like, I just kind of, in those processes, I make myself a believer as well,
Hmm.
because I'm only spitting out the details, the narrative, like, that the person that I guess is not with us is telling me. And through
Yeah.
that, they grow a sense of, like, understanding and acknowledging, like, okay, well, you obviously, how would you know this if, and
Yeah.
I've watched people who are completely, what would you call it? Like, they're
Skeptic,
just not,
skeptical,
yeah,
skeptical.
Hmm.
skeptical, that 100% did not. And they even told me by the end, like, I've never ever would have believed this. Like, there's no, and you've made me a believer. Like, it's there by the
I feel
end,
like I feel like you're also in your own we're all in our own process of like conceptualizing or fully understanding this, because I feel like with every experience that you have, you like you believe it more. It's like
yeah,
you're being reconvinced over and over again,
exactly.
because there's always going to be doubt with us. Like that's just how we work, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird, like, that guy was telling me where I was walking to work, and I saw a guy get hit, and I ran to go see if he was okay, and there was no one there, and there was a freaking car honking at me to get out of the road. And then I
Did you?
helped him, and the
Wow.
guy that, huh?
I don't. Did you tell that story while I was gone?
I
That's a
told that
whole.
story to you like a week ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you had mentioned that story while I was gone. But
yeah,
anyway, so Greg, what are your thoughts? Do you want to close out the discussion? Do you want to keep on going? Where's your head at?
yeah. How long have we been recording?
It's been a minute. I just want to check in like with Greg to
Yeah,
see like
no,
where he's at.
let's close out. Um, yeah, I think it's getting around that time, and I think we discussed a lot of stuff today that was freaking crazy. But I did kind of want to ask, I guess, like, how has this changed your perspective on like other people dying? Say, like, not your death per se, but like, how has this changed your perspective on like if one of your friends or whatever passed
So
away?
I did have someone pass away
Okay.
literally like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just barely got their urn a few days ago. It was a friend's father passed away, and they gave me a part of his ashes, which again, gives me that shows me that obviously what I do is not, like, I know that what I'm doing is, like,
Mm,
it really is changing people's mindsets. But
okay.
I I still grieve like anyone else.
Mm,
I do
mhm.
have an understanding that we're not dead, that we just moved on to a different level of existence. And it's a healthy narrative to grieve the person that was lost.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't,
And they're
it's
still
almost like
lost in this reality too.
yeah.
Anyways.
So it's almost like I have closure, knowing that, like, they're not really gone. They've just moved on, and will move on
Hmm.
at one point as well, but it's not, but I
Yeah.
still, like, grieve their loss, their presence in this life because we won't see them anymore. So there is something to have been lost, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But you don't.
Yeah.
And I haven't. I have like I've looked up like because I have seen other people like that can do this or claim they can, and they kind of some people don't don't grieve because they know that they're maybe I'm just too emotionally like in
Mhm.
like because I do have a lot of emotions. I do like I said when people do pass away, even people that I didn't know, like I cry when I help people and I cry with them through the healing of them knowing that their loved one is okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I
Jose,
do have a level of understanding that they're not gone. They're just gone in this
Jose,
existence.
can I ask you something?
Hmm.
Is there a taco situation that happened at all tonight?
Taco?
No,
No, okay.
no.
Taco? What?
I
Yeah,
came up
because
with a code word just in
Okay.
case a situation happened, but we'll go into that later. I'll tell you later.
Okay. All right. Well, Jose, it's been awesome having you on the podcast, and it's cool that you shared all these experiences out in the open, out in the public. And I mean, um, whether or not they're true, I believe that what you're saying and what you experience is true, and that you truly believe what is happening happened to you.
Mhm.
And I think, uh, regardless of their validity, I think we can all learn a few things about life and just not taking it too seriously. And that, I mean, we're all just living, dude. So,
Yeah.
and I think you're a nice dude. And I think all these stories are amazing. And I'm glad that you came on the show. And welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Jose, for coming on.
yeah, and you count yourself lucky because I have never. He has tried doing this shit for years and
Yeah.
years, and I was always like, no, I can't. And yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's
All right.
Jose and Kevin Donahue. So take it
Oh my
easy.
God, don't give him my name.